moving on to Tir Prince. Now, this is your baby, really. These North Wales Horse Owners races. I'll just let you kind of do the talking here a little bit. If you want my input, just you can ask the questions this time, I think.
I'll start by saying I'm pleased just to see these races going ahead this year. There was times sort of March, April where it was looking doubtful for any racing to go ahead. So I'm delighted that we've managed to put them on. I mean, I started these races in 2013 because there was very little stakes racing at Tir Prince then, if any at all. So decided to go ahead with them, and they've gone from strength to strength, really. So they're usually decent races. There's been some good horses won them over the years. So have you got the card in front of you there, Sarah?
I have, yes. I am prepared for this, yes.
Yeah, no problem. So we'll start with the 2-year-olds, fillies, Division 1. With these races, I do what Aberystwyth used to do with the 3-year-olds. And when you've got more than enough for one race, you just split them into divisions rather than make the horses go into heats and finals in what's already a busy schedule. So Division 1, obviously they were drawn out last week by Darren, so they're in race card order. All starting for the first time, aren't they? So it's intriguing, and you're relying on breeding, qualifying performances. Air Ambition, I know they think a lot of. She's a lovely big filly. She's out of a mare that the Air Stud imported. The breeders have retained her. I think she did go through the sale ring, but although she reached double figures, they didn't get what they wanted for her, so they kept her, and she's in with the Gills. Drawn 1, I saw her. I think she finished third. She finished third. I think Yerkes Hanover was first. Imperial Attitude was second, and Air Ambition went round very nicely on the inside in third and clocked about 2.5 a couple of weeks ago. So she's going to be a big player from there. Probably could well go off favourite, or start favourite at least. Shadow Market is Rainbow Rider's sister. Rainbow Rider won the VDM last year. I think that she's been around about 2.6 in Ireland, is what I'm told. So if she comes in form, she'd have a big chance. I'm not sure she's. I think she did 2.6 a few weeks ago, and I don't think she's come on from that much. Whether or not that's intentional, I don't know. But yeah, we'll see. Green Hill Bessie. I've watched her a couple of times, and in fairness, I think she's one that's going to come on for the run. I think she's got a few seconds to find. She looks like she's going to be a nice horse, but she's probably not quite at the level of some of these just yet. And will benefit from the experience. Ladyford Conquest. I saw Ladyford Conquest go in against aged racehorses at York a couple of weeks ago and went 2.7. Went really good. I've only seen the result. I think she went 9s there the week just gone. So I'm not sure. And Vicky Gill prefers the other one. So I'm not sure there. I mean, I quite liked her when I saw her the first time, but and you wouldn't be surprised to see her go well, but she seems to have a bit to find maybe on the times. Showtime, I'm a Lady. Again, I think I've seen that go around about 6s. Obviously, it's mixed choice as well. Stable drivers chosen it. 5 is a bad draw at York. 5 is a bad draw at Tir Prince with 6 on the gate. But she's certainly the best. She's of the Showtime 2-year-olds that I've seen, she looks like she could make a name for herself. Said to be Sweet. Have you seen much of Said to be Sweet, Sarah? I saw her once, and he really looked after her. She went about 9s.
Yeah, I've seen her in a couple of qualifiers. One thing I did note about her, she's quite a high stepper. She's quite a high, knee lifter, which to me, kind of in my opinion, means that perhaps she may suit the grass slightly better. There's less concussion kind of impact on the ground with than on a hard track. But like you say, she has been kind of looked after. She's not been gunned through these qualifiers. It's been very educational runs for her in the qualifiers.
No.
I guess the real shame here is that she's got a got the worst draw on the gate, so it's difficult to really see it going forward.
She's got the death draw, really. Yeah. Reeds may fly again. Haytham weights, but I think most, if not all, of the Haytham weight teams, 2-year-olds have only had one qualifier. So she was another one that was very much well looked after. Stateside Hill, I saw a couple of weeks ago, really liked. Impressed me. I think it went quite well. And then Colford C. Now, you might be able to help here, because I was sent a set of results from York via a third party, and the qualifying time for Colford C was 2:2.2. And when I saw that, I thought, dear me, you would have to fancy it. Did you take any times for the qualifiers last week, or do you know whether that's accurate or not?
Yeah, I haven't. I actually had a note. After you sent me the list of runners, I did make a couple of quick notes. So I didn't come into this totally blindly, and I had something to say about some of the horses. The qualifying time was given as 2:2.2. Well, it was given as 2:2 flat for Indiana's Quest, who we'll talk about in one of the later divisions. Times were off in that qualifier. The official time given was not correct. It was queried at the time by people on the track who obviously, if you go harness racing in the UK, most people have come out of the womb with a stopwatch in their hands. All the kind of stopwatch people had clocked the qualifier at 2:5. I had access to the race footage to watch at home afterwards. I've had it up on my TV screen. I've sat and timed it myself. The qualifier went 2:5. As a result, then Colford C, you're talking about 2:5, 2:52, roughly around that mark. 2:5, not 2:2. The main indicator on the day was that the 3/4 time was given out as 1:35. For it to have been a 1:35 3/4, and then the mile in 2:2, that's borderline impossible, quite frankly. So it was that was the alarm bells ringing at the time. I know it was given out as the official, but multiple sources, and obviously me being able to watch the replays as well, the qualifier was 2:5. That possibly puts a slightly different kind of complexion on it then, because some people are looking at these times. I know certainly I'm connected to a horse in the second division as well, and she was in that particular qualifier. Her time was given in that qualifier 2:2.9. I know she's not done 2:2.9, and I don't want people to kind of blindly think that this is the time that she's done.
No,
to have done that, but as it stands, it was a 2:5 qualifier. So you need to kind of add on 3 seconds for all the ones that were in that qualifier that were affected by that missed time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it sort of blows my form guide up there, Rope, but there we go. You can only deal with the information that you're given.
No, I know. But the thing is with Colford C was in the first meeting, the first qualifier day at York, and went 2:6 that day, and then came back 3 weeks later and went 2:5. Whilst it's not perhaps the progression that some of the 2-year-olds that have been seen have gone through over the course of maybe 2, 3, 4 qualifiers, at the same time, Colford C has been consistent at that time. She was ready very early, and it'd be interesting to see. Perhaps she will step up now. Obviously, coming to a different track at Tir Prince, she may find a bit more time, and that may be enough to win a race. But she has the draw against her. So,
what would you fancy there, Sarah, if you had to have a bet out of them?
Well, I mean, I had it narrowed down to a couple. Obviously, you've gone through them all there. For me, I'd narrowed it down to Air Ambition, Showtime I'm a Lady, and, those were my kind of main 2. Shadow Market, I don't know enough about. As you mentioned, I guess she's done about 2:6 at Portmarnock. She is her half-sister won the VDM 2-year-olds last year, so the potential is there with her, but I haven't laid eyes on her. I can't really strongly go with her at all.
No.
Air Ambition, as you mentioned, when nicely in a qualifier at York, people came away from York that day. Although she hadn't won that qualifier, it's not a betting race. It doesn't necessarily matter that you're not winning these. There's no prize money attached to them. But a few people came away from York that day and said Air Ambition. Air Ambition for me was a horse that really caught the eye. And for me, I've seen a lot of progress in Showtime I'm a Lady from the first time that she ran the qualifier to the last time that she ran the qualifier. So if she continues in the same vein, she should be involved at the finish. But Air Ambition, Vicky's taken the drive. That's an indicator in itself. She's got the draw. She looked, a nice prospect in that one qualifier I saw her in at York. So I would be leaning towards Air Ambition, but Showtime I'm a Lady, Nick, again, he's got 2 in the race and he's taken that drive. They're my 2 main protagonists from what I've looked at realistically, I think.
Yeah, I would have to go with Air Ambition. I know that they've thought a lot of this horse for a long time. The noises coming out of the Guild stable have all been very positive. She's a classy individual, and they know what a champion 2-year-old looks like. And I think that they are quietly, although they never say too much, I think quietly they're really excited about this filly.
Yeah, well, it's fair enough. On paper, she's fantastically well bred. I've met the dam. I've also met the half sister by Sweet Lou, the yearling filly, and also the colt foal as well by Hasty Hall, I think. All very nice types of horse. So, I think that the O'Neills and their standardbreds will be looking here for Ambition to make a big statement this year, really, because there are siblings to follow. And obviously they are commercial breeders and there are sales, over the next couple of years. So, Air Ambition, I've got a connection to the O'Neills because I'm very good friends with the family. So I would like to see, for personal reasons, I would like to see Air Ambition win it because that would be a nice friends of mine. So.
Good. Should be a good race.
Yes.
The 2-year-old colts and geldings, it was probably... Obviously, there was nearly twice as many fillies as colts about this year. So the colts is a much more select field. And I think there's 2 real standouts in there.
I would agree with you.
Yerkes Hanover. I missed him the first time he went round. I did get a phone call and somebody said, "Oh, the Laidlers have got a good Hanover horse." And I said, "Well, I didn't see it." But when the 16, 17 qualifiers, and you miss 1 or 2 even when the stream's on, don't you? The phone's going this, that, and the other. But I did watch him the last time he was in a qualifier, and he was very, very impressive. But equally impressive, a week or 2 before that was Air Camelot. I think he clocked 2-2. He looked the real deal himself. Again, both really well bred. They've got good draws, 2 and 3. Henry's best. He's got the 1 draw. He's been in 1 qualifier. He looked nice enough. He was really carefully treated in his qualifier, but he's probably going to come on for the run. Porterstown Roman, very similar to the other Irish runner, seems to have gone around about the 2.6 mark a few times. Haven't really heard a lot more than that. Wasn't expecting that. He was quite a relatively big money purchase at the sale. Really talked about the horse. He looks a nice individual. Is going to be nice, but the difference between him and the others. In his qualifier, James went at 1.7.5 and brought him home in 1.2. So just went 2.9. Only time he's been seen. So it's hard to gauge really. But just as a word of warning, the Haythornwaites have followed the similar path in this race a couple of times before. Haven't flashed them up in qualifiers, come out, bang, there you go, thanks very much, we've won it. Obviously, the race is usually held in June. We're in July now, so we're a full 3.5 weeks later than we're supposed to be, so they all should have trained on a little bit more. But for me, it's a 2-horse race, and I'm going to have to side with Yerkes Hanover with the Laidlers. What are you thinking?
I'm with you. For me, there's 2 standout horses in the race based on their performances in qualifiers. Air Camelot has been showy from the start. From day 1 in a qualifier on the track, and previously in private workouts before that. He's a horse that I liked as a foal when I met him. He was my pick of the sale as a yearling colt as well. Had I been buying with a big budget, I'd have gone for Air Camelot. Had I been buying with a slightly smaller budget, my pick of the colts was actually Amazon Echo, who's also in the race with the worst draw. In theory, on number, worst draw, but obviously, 6 on the gate, draw 7 actually isn't that bad in reality. Behind Henry's best, guaranteed the rail. Of the 2 kind of main horses there, Yerkes Hanover and Air Camelot, one thing I noted with Yerkes Hanover is that he appears to have a real stamina come the finish of these mile qualifiers. Obviously, it's a mile race at Tir Prince on the 14th, but I've often found that Tir Prince is a slightly more staying track than York. I would always, regardless of the fact, Tir Prince has got, a particularly fast track record, and your free-for-all is going, well under a few minutes. But for me, just the way that the bends are and the straights and everything like that, I just find that perhaps it saps the stamina slightly more than York does. I've sometimes found, and being a horse with a strong finish, I think maybe, is a real benefit to you at Tir Prince in particular. And on that basis, I would maybe edge towards Yerkes Hanover over Air Camelot. wasn't expecting that when I qualified a couple weeks ago at York, and Amazon Echo, did the same. And I like Amazon Echo. I think he's a horse that has a lot of scope to grow into a good 3-year-old as well. So for the minor placings, I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon Echo was kind of involved in it as well. But I just think that Henry's Best is possibly going to be outpaced at the start if UX Hanover and Air Camelot go forward, which I anticipate them both doing. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I agree with you as well. What you're saying there about I think if a horse gets a mile at Tir Prince, he'll get it anywhere, won't he? I think so. But it's usually a good yardstick. So yeah, good race. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
So you're going with Yerkes as well, yeah?
Going with Yerkes. I know we've tried to avoid each other on the clash, but I'm going with.
It's more difficult in stakes races, isn't it?
It definitely is. Yeah.
So the next one up, we've got Division 2 of the fillies. We've both got an interest in this next race. I'm connected to Green Tree Euphoria, drawn 4. She's a nice little filly. She's got a good attitude. She's got a bit to find with these, to be honest with you. She's only been 11s twice in the last 2 qualifiers. She's small in size, but she's got quite a big heart, and she paces nice. She seems to be enjoying it, so we're going to keep going with her for now, and see how she goes. She will probably make a nicer 3-year-old. So if we could have a clear round and be running on at the end, we'd be delighted, no matter where we finished, really. So going through Indiana's Quest, obviously the conversation that we've had earlier about the 2-5 as opposed to the 2-2 makes a little bit of a difference in relation to that. Nevertheless, she does look a nice filly. She's going to lead. She's certainly going to try and lead from the 1 draw there, and I think she'll make it a true run race. Edith Camden, Vicky chose her. She's Rewrite History's full sister, beautifully bred, and Vicky's chose her over our filly. I don't think there's a lot between them, to be honest with you. Certainly, of the 4 fillies that the Gills have got, from what I've looked on qualifiers, I think the 2 forward going ones, the 2 more forward ones, Mare Ambition and Ladyford Conquest, have ended up in together. And the 2 ones that look like they're going to need a run that have ended up in together, that's just where the draw happened. So I would say, from what I've seen, Edith Campbell will probably come on for the run. Imperial Attitude looks a real nice thing. Went 2-4 at York a couple of weeks ago. Watched that. I know that the connections really fancy her from that draw. I think they're quite bullish about her, and they expect us to go really well. And they've got good reason, really, because I haven't seen anything to suggest other than that she's going to be a really nice filly. Art Professor as well. I think she is Art Professor, isn't she, Sarah? Am I right there?
I'm going to say, I have issued a warning before that I say yes with confidence, and I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain she's Art Professor. Obviously, he's proven himself to be a side of good 2-year-old fillies before, so that's another tick. I've already mentioned Green Tree Euphoria. Colford Ski, I haven't seen a great deal of. I think Clock 2-5's got a bad draw there. Joseph Moore. Their 2-year-olds are always fit when they bring them to the track, so that it certainly will run its race. Pixie Camden. Now, the dogs in the street were barking about this filly in Ireland a few weeks ago. She was bought out of mixed sale. She is definitely an Art Professor, and there was some really positive noise coming out about her. I think the last couple of qualifiers perhaps haven't gone quite as they wanted to, and I don't think they quite know where they're at with her. They've had, I don't know whether you've been watching any of the Port Marnock racing, but they've had some really big headwinds, and there's been some really strange times at the track.
Yeah.
You've had top class open horses go 2-2, and I think there's a few people scratching their heads after the race, wondering where the times have come from. So Pixie Camden, she's a classy filly. She's got the worst draw, and I don't know. I think that she could. I think she'll either run really, really well or really, really badly. I don't think there'll be any in between with her. I just get that feeling with her. Blytheview Juice, Jason Podmore's bred her, or the Podmore family have bred her. She's out of Reed's Night Nurse, so she's goes back to CPR, which is a great 2-year-old family, and she's by Armbro Juice, who obviously had a great season with juveniles last year. I would say, though, that John Wright's horses usually come on for the run. That's the only, and obviously the 7-year-old would be against her. Search Me is obviously your parents or your family's horse, basically. So I'll let you speak about that one.
Yeah, I mean, when we discussed the 2522 saga from York, she was one of the effective horses with that time. She was in the fire with Indiana's Quest. She's done nothing wrong. She's running 2 qualifiers. She's had a couple of private workouts as well. She's improving. She's finding all the time. And Rocker and Alexis have kind of spoken to myself and my family and said, she's nice to work with. She's got a good attitude. She's willing, and she's not doing anything wrong. I did feel possibly that this race may come a little soon for her. She was making progress gradually. She started to make a bit more quicker progress, and I thought perhaps actually this race wasn't coming too soon for her at all. And I was really looking forward. I sat and watched the draws, with great anticipation. My dad will tell you that he is absolutely tortured with bad draws. I've been there. I had a 2-year-old that I raced a couple of seasons ago. Terrible draws, worst possible draws every time. The one time she drew one, she won a 2-year-old race. So, it was the draws against me. Drawn 8, it's not great. It's not the worst. With 6 on the gate, it's not the worst. She has got a shake at the rail, depending on how the start of the race pans out. But for me, I'd be looking really to get a nice, good, clean mile in and finish strong. If she can get into the placings, that would be fantastic. I do feel it's a slightly big ask to be looking at a win there for her, with Indiana's Quest being the kind of the talk 2-year-old filly, and being drawn 1, and then Imperial Attitude on the gate as well. There's going to be speed early. For me, I'm looking for Search Me to kind of finish well, put in a good mile, get a good trip, and come on for that run. And picking up a bit of prize money would be nice as well.
Yeah, we're exactly the same. And then Air Contessa. Again, I can mention the fact that the Haytham 8 team have only had their horses in 1 qualifier, but they've won this race twice before, doing exactly the same. I think they went about 2.9 with her in the qualifier. They certainly never pushed her. She could turn up and be anything. Drawn 3 on the second line, so she if could be one to spring a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, she went nicely in her qualifier. But the thing is, with the qualifier, when she ran, she went nicely and didn't do anything wrong. The thing was, she led out, essentially made all in that qualifier. This is a completely different kettle of fish now. Being drawn on the second line, you put all those horses in front of you. It is a different ball game, passing horses. So for that, the draw has gone against her. For me, like I mentioned before, with the gate horses, a couple of fancy up front, I think Air Contessa could be another kind of candidate for running into the places. If she was to beat, you kind of Indiana's Quest, Imperial Attitude in the race, it would be for me, it would be a bit of a surprise.
So who's you picking that one, Sarah?
With the draw on his side, and if it becomes a speed duel, he will not give up that position for love nor money. I've got to take Indiana's Quest and Shane Leader.
Okay. Well, I will go with Imperial Attitude. I will go with Imperial Attitude because I've spoken to Adam a couple of times, and I know that I've seen it with my own eyes anyway in the qualifier, but I've spoken to Adam a couple of times, and I know they really fancy it. So I will go with Imperial Attitude.
That's fair enough.
So 3-year-old fillies, I made the decision here to split these into divisions. If we get a couple of non-runners, it'll look like a bad decision, but because they all then could have gone in together and ran for more prize money. But at this stage of the season, with the frequency of the meetings that we're hoping to hold at Tir Prince and York, I wanted to try and protect the horse population, and I didn't see the sense really in making these horses come out and running heats in a final on the first night. So I thought I'd explain that one to start with. I did speak to all the connections in the race beforehand as well, and asked them what they thought. And to a person, they agreed, just split it. And let's just run in divisions. So that was fine. So starting with the first one, there's 6 in it. Reed Sequin, she's a CPR filly. Always, you know, they're good, solid stakes horses, aren't they? She came out last year, won the 2-year-old version of this, and she's going to be there or thereabouts again. She's changed ownership. The Howards sold her. The Haythamates managed to keep her in the stable, sold her to one of the other owners. She's going to feature there, drawn 1. I haven't seen anything of her in qualifiers. You might be able to shed some light on that. Ring Me Back, Watson Harrop's filly. She's a nice thing, and I think Watson will be definitely looking to finish in the places. Triple S, obviously, only raced once last year when I was looking at the form at Tregaron, is now with the Laidlers, and when I saw it go 2 minutes in a qualifier in the first qualifiers on the stream at York, really impressed me, and I think you know, it looks there's only 6 in the race. Looks like one that Rocker could lead from pillar to post with. Indiana's Dream is highly tried, to be fair to her. She always runs a good race. She'll be on the premises. Not sure she's quite going to be good enough to win. Reed's Firefly, I know that the online bookmakers, I don't know what they laid, but I think she opened up at 7s and went off at 2-1, I think, last week. So somebody punted her. I don't know how much or what, but it certainly seemed a big move in the market. And I think she ran quite nice. She finished 3rd in the maiden race. And then Oakwood Gossip clocked 2-6 last week and then was put up for sale in the week. So the owners have obviously lost patience with her, to be fair, speaking freely. She's brilliantly bred. And I think I've been 2-2 previously, but they were obviously disappointed with that performance last week. In that race, I do think it's a 2-horse race, and I would be tempted to side with Rocker's Triple S.
Okay, well, just to add a little bit to that, Reed Sequin was in a qualifier, went nicely in a qualifier, and came home in a minute, which is, you know, a nice kind of prep run for this. In the race, she is the only horse that has actually won a race lifetime. You mentioned that she was 2-year-olds last year, so she has got that under her belt.
And she won the Breeders' Crown Silver as well, so she's won twice at the track. Yeah,
so there we go. You know, she's got that experience that perhaps is lacking in some of the others. Of the others, Reed's Firefly went nicely last week at York. She finished 3rd. She encountered a few traffic problems. She was drawn 8 in the race. She did encounter some traffic problems, and when she got out, Andrew, you know, she really did fly home down the straight. She finished nicely, which is, you know, is always going to be a nice prep run coming into a race like this. Triple S, I thought had gone 2-3 in a qualifier, not 2 minutes. I had never.
Was that Saturday gone, or was that Saturday gone that it was in a qualifier? Or
no, the first meeting that I saw it in a qualifier. First qualifier meeting, because I think that was the day that the horse changed stables, having been kind of trained through the part of the season by the owners. From my memory, from the notes that I had, that the horse went 2-3 in that qualifier and did so nicely. Did nothing wrong. And as we mentioned, we were talking about the York card there, and for tomorrow, this change of stables from an amateur stable to a professional stable can sometimes bring a horse on as well. I think, for me, I'm looking more at Reed's Sequin and Reed's Firefly, the 2 Reed's fillies in the race. I particularly like Reed's Firefly, but, you know, as I mentioned, the Reed's Sequin is the one with the experience, the race-winning experience as well, and the draw, which, you know, that may come into play when you get into horses like this.
Okay. Yeah, I'd have to. I'll have to check that. I wrote 2 minutes down, but I may well stand corrected there. But I'll stick with my selection anyway. Right. But Reed Sequin is, as you say, she's got the experience there, and she's a really classy filly.
Yeah.
Okay, so the race 5 is the Division 2, 7 runners. Rainbow Writer, VDM winner last year. You know, she came from such a distance back when she won it. She's obviously a really special filly. I think she broke in the final and gave him about 60 yards and came and won. She is something really special, and I know connections think the world of her. She went 2-4 in a qualifier on Sunday, and I think that again they were left scratching their heads a little bit. But if you look at the times from Portmarnock on Sunday, I was watching the stream. I spoke to a couple of people that were there, and I was asking that very question. You know, what's going on with the times, and they were blaming the wind. So we'll see where she's at. I think that she's going to be favourite. She's going to be strongly fancied, but that 2-4 mile at Portmarnock on Sunday perhaps leaves a question mark, and only a small one at that. Of the others, Reed's Romance. She won a division of the North Wales race here last year. She's won around the track a couple of times. She's very fast. She always looks liable to make a mistake, and she has made mistakes. Even when she won a finished race here, Mick just about held her together coming all the way down the straight. But you know, she's got speed to burn, and if she doesn't make a mistake, she's a real player in this race. She Be Stunning won more races than any other 2-year-old last year. Won 5 races, Sarah, I think, didn't she?
Yeah, I think. Well, I'm not entirely sure the exact figure of races, but I've got notes here. She won the Sire Stakes of the Corby, and she also won the 2-year-old, the SHR Stakes.
Yeah, I think
Corby as well. She had a nice season as a 2-year-old.
Yeah, she's and you know, she'll. I've got no doubt that she'll train on. Oakwood Coral was very lightly raced last year. Won a heat of the fillies division of the VDM at Portmarnock, and finished second in the final. She was beaten 2-6 earlier on in the week. I spoke to Paul Johnson when he was when we were declaring drivers and stuff, and they've had a bit of a hold up, and that she was just short of a run really, and she will probably need this as well. He's very honest in what he said. Alpine Double Deuce, I think, has changed ownership. Won the Tregaron, the Dragon last year. So it's an interesting race. Obviously, Rainbow Right is a standout individual. The benchmark for these 2-year-olds is the VDM, and that was the VDM winner. She was beaten in her only other start in the UK when she came here last year for the Futurity. She was a little bit lame that night and finished 3rd. So she'll be strongly fancied. But if you look through that race, Rainbow Right is a champion 2-year-old filly, Reed's Romance is a champion 2-year-old filly, She Be Stunning is a champion 2-year-old filly, and Alpine Double Juice. So there's a bit of pedigree in there in terms of the races that these horses have won. It's a race of high calibre. And I'll be interested to see how it goes. On all known form, really, I would have to fancy Rainbow Rider if she comes over and brings her A game. But other than that, Reed's Romance, She Be Stunning, Alpine Double Deuce, all in with big shouts.
Yeah, I would agree with you. If I was being pushed, I would probably take Reed's Romance. She can be a bit hit or miss. But when she's hitting hard. So if she brings her A game and she's on form, I think Reed's Romance is the one to beat. But it depends if Reed's Romance turns up on the night, I think.
Yeah, if she may well have matured a bit, mightn't she? She may well have matured a bit, and if she has, she's a serious horse. So I'm looking forward to that race.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to the race. I think it stands to be a really good race. So I'm Rainbow Rider and you're Reed's Romance on that one, yeah?
Yeah, that's my choice.
Okay, so next race is the 3-year-old colts. Now, I loved this division of colts last year, colts and geldings. There's some really, really special horses amongst them. And therefore, I love this race. When I was putting the entries forms out for the 3-year-old colts this year, I was already looking forward to see the runs that we were going to get. I'm obviously disappointed Special T doesn't go. Again, spoke to Paul Johnson. It's not a major injury. He's got a little bit of a bruised foot, so we can expect to see him back soon, thankfully. They just didn't want to run him and sour him when he's got a small problem. going through them, a rock and roll star. He's not a horse I saw a lot of last year. I know he won the SHRC Futurity. I honestly can't remember. I was at the VDM finals day, but he is not a horse I made a note of. So what's he like, Sarah? A rock and roll star?
He was the runner-up in the 2-year-old the VDM final last year. When you watch the replay back, I'm much easiest. I think he had a couple of traffic problems. Finished very strongly. As you mentioned, he won the 2-year-olds at Corbywood as well. It'd be interesting to see how he goes coming down to Tir Prince. I've mentioned, Corbywood horses going to York and Scottish horses going to Tir Prince as well. It can sometimes be quite a big step up for them. But he did have some highlights through his 2-year-old season last year. So he's not to be kind of disregarded in that sense.
As a general rule, the Gilveals don't have bad horses either, do they? To be fair.
No, they've certainly had success the last couple of seasons. Obviously with likes of Northern Pride as well, who's been good at 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Certainly I think one to certainly to keep an eye on. But it's a very, very competitive 3-year-old colts race. It really is. As we go through the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, which guy am I? In his first start last year here, early in June, I think the 8th or 9th of June, clocked a 2-1 mile. I mean, if he's back and in tip-top condition, he's a major player, isn't he? I mean, before he ran, I'll just give you a little bit of a backstory here. He won the North Wales race in a super fast time. And then they brought him back for the Futurity at the end of the month. And before the race, I'd been speaking to John Gill about something. And he actually said, well, we're not sure whether or not he might be developing a problem. I'm keeping a really close eye on him. He ran well and finished second in the Futurity. And then straight after that, they finished him for the season. As I believe it was more as a precaution than anything else. You might be able to correct me. I don't think he's had any surgery or anything like that. I think that they just wrapped him in cotton wool because of how much they think of him. So if he comes back and his problem has been solved, then he's a really nice horse. Frisco Tex, I think he finished second last week. He's a horse I fancied actually. He was driven. He was looked after in his start last week. Really finished second in 2-1. I think he's going to be a nice horse and he's going to win races. I don't think he can win this. And Rocker obviously sides with Matutius. Royal Armbro, he won that early 2-year-old race that they had at York last year. Then he went 2-3. Then came to Tir Prince and went well. I think he clocked a decent mile, but again, he's another one that then had a problem. Star Attraction, winner of the Sire Stakes, 2-year-old one up at Corbywood. He was placed in either the North Wales race or the Futurity race here as well earlier on in the year. And then you get to I'm a Happy Fella. I've spoken to Jeff about this horse. I was stood next to Jeff when he won at Tregaron. I was delighted for him when he won the heat at Tregaron last year. I was up on the finish line. And I've spoke to Jeff a couple of times about this horse and he thinks he's really, really special. And from what I've seen of him, I would tend to agree. I think he clocked a 2-2 mile round here in the Breeders' Crown heat. He's drawn 1 on the second line behind a Rock and Roll Star, so he's another major player. Oakwood Oscar, I fancied last week in his maiden race, and he didn't quite do it. He seems to be a little bit immature. I don't think he can be featured here. Matutius, he won the VDM drawn 8 last year. When the big money came on offer at the end of the season. I think he was campaigned towards the end of the season last year. Rocker didn't gun him earlier on. He educated him. He perhaps knew that he wasn't up to going the speeds that the other horses were going early doors. But by the time you got to the end, by the time you got to the Breeders' Crown and the VDM, he took the big prizes, didn't he? And the way he won drawn 8 at the VDM was something special, really, to be honest with you. It was a really, really good race. And then Stateside Dude drawn in 10. He's gone from Steve Lee's stable to the Gills this year. He's a lovely little horse, and you know, I think there's a good chance that he'll go under 2 minutes this year. But this is probably going to be a bit warm for him, especially drawn 10. So if you were asking me to choose one there, it's a hard job, isn't it? If you were asking me to choose one there, because I've selected so many rockers through the night, I'm going to go with I'm a Happy Fella.
Okay. I mean, I can't narrow it down at all. I cannot narrow it down at all. I'm between about 4 or 5 different horses in the race, and you can make a case for all of them. I think a lot of it could come down to draw, because I think there's across the board, the standard is fairly level with the best ones in the race. I think Machutis has got a lot to do, draw 9. He won his qualifier comfortably last week in 59s, so certainly looks to be in good form. Which Guy Am I looked good in a qualifier as well at York a couple of weeks ago. And I think based on the draw with that, and the fact that, early season last year, Which Guy Am I came out and raced well and went really, really good times. I think I'm going to go Which Guy Am I in that. But, horses like Royal Ambro or Rock and Roll Star, as you mentioned, I'm a Happy Fellow. I think they're all in the shout, but if you were really going to push me, I think I'd say Which Guy Am I, with the draw and it being early season as well. I think he's got the biggest chance.
Yeah, and I think you could definitely make a decent case for half the field there, really, couldn't you? So I'm looking forward to that. Be interesting to see if we get a good day's weather. It'd be interesting to see what time that race clocks.
Yeah, definitely.
So then we're on to race 7.
Yeah.
A very small select field. We dropped down to 5. I think I had 9 originally. Obviously, a few have dropped out with injury and a couple of different things, but it's still a decent race. I love Loose Change. I was looking at her form the other day. What a horse to have owned she would have been. Certainly for somebody like, for me who loves racing around Tir Prince. I looked at her form last year, and she'd won the Oaks, she won the North Wales race and the Breeders' Crown. What more could you ask for, really?
I agree.
Absolutely brilliant. 2-1 record. She I don't know. She seems to win without doing anything too flashy. But she's a really nice filly. Imperial Deal flashed up at York in a qualifier, but disappointed last week, really. So I couldn't really see. I couldn't see her featuring. Certainly couldn't see her being up there to win it. Bella Beauty, again, she's another one. She's going to be a nice horse. She is a nice horse, but she looks a bit outclassed at this level with these. Lions Queen won a couple of times towards the back end of last year, and again, she's another one that's going to win more races. But I think that between Deal, Beauty, and Queen, playing for minor honours here, because it's between Newtown Jody and Loose Change. But I mean, you've had the pleasure of being at York, and you saw the mile that she did. I mean, was that the correct time?
That was, yeah. On this occasion,
and I wasn't being.
No. Yeah, it was one of those things. It was so fast the time that you could kind of question it. But she was with intent. Jodie was with intent. The horse herself. I'm not even sure if Vicky really intended herself to go that fast in that workout. But Newtown Jodie was absolutely flying that day. It was very, very impressive to watch. What I would say is that on most previous meetings, I think in 2019, Loose Change beat Newtown Jodie. And yet coming into this race, from what I've seen in the qualifiers and the workouts, I would have to say that Newtown Jodie, for me, even with that draw, for me, she is the standout winner. But it might be the case that Loose Change brings the kind of form into racing that she had with the racing last year. I just felt that in her qualifier, she lacked the kind of there was something about Jodie. She was absolutely electric that day. She was buzzing the way she went, and I just felt that was lacking in Loose Change, and something was lacking compared to what she looked like last year when she raced. But that workout may well have brought her on, and it's been a couple of weeks since I saw her, so who knows the kind of change we could see in Loose Change between then and Tuesday. But for me, I have to firmly say that I am in Team Jodie for Tuesday.
Yeah, I was the 3-year-old race at Portmarnock on the VDM weekend last year, when Starcam just got up and beat her. I think it was a 156 mile, the pair of them, and you know, Jodie was really special that day. She hasn't had much luck round here, around Tir Prince previously. She won the heat. She won the heat of the Breeders' Crown last year, but then there was an incident on the first bend in the final, and she was hampered, and loose change just got on with it and clocked on. And I think to be honest with you, that's the way that this race will go at the weekend. If Newtown Jodie gets out drawn 5 and doesn't have any problems, I think based on what we've seen, I think she'll win and win relatively comfortably. But if there's any hiccups, then loose change will happily be there to take the prize money. So
yeah, no, I agree with you on that. For me, there's two main protagonists in that, and I think it's Jodie for me. You know, on all 2020 form as I've seen in workouts, I would have to go.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And then we're on to race 8. The 4-year-olds. Again, but I love this race. I think it's quite fascinating, really. Looking at Take Me to the Limit. If you start with Take Me to the Limit, I think he won his novice race at the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, if ever there's a horse on a nice mark, it's him, because he last year when he finished second in the Derby to Northern Pride, he did an incredible time for the 1.5 miles, and you know, he's a good horse. He tends to like to come off the pace a little bit from what I've seen of him.
Yeah.
And I think that he's got a bit to find with Ladyford Dollar and Northern Pride here. But if them two did get involved in some sort of speed duel and overdid it, then Take Me to the Limit could be one that comes in and does the bookmakers a favour, really. Because the other than that, it's going to be a bang 2-horse contest, really. Certainly in terms of the market, I can see these two being flip-flopping favourites. I think there'll be money for both of them, and it's a good race. Ladyford Dollar won the Breeders' Crown here last year in 1:58 and a piece with Stevie in charge. Was really, really impressive. Northern Pride obviously is by an American stallion, so couldn't race against him in the Breeders' Crown. So when they had the 3-year-old race at Portmarnock, I sided with Northern Pride in the betting ring. But Stevie in the bike, and Stevie hit the front, and he has this way, Stevie Lees, when he drives horses, of once he hits the front, he does a really fast quarter, and then he sort of sends the field to sleep for the next 2 quarters. Certainly sort of seems to put them under his spell, and they allow him to get to the mile. He jams it up a bit, and then he sprints home, and on the fractions they just can't catch him. And I felt that when I came away from Portmarnock last year, I just felt that perhaps Gordon had left it a fraction too late attacking him on Northern Pride, because Northern Pride finished full of running. So these are 2 horses I'm looking really forward to seeing go head to head. I think Dollar's a really good horse. Again, he won his opener, he won his race. He raced twice in 6 days in Ireland, so he's going to be fit. He won on the Monday that they raced, but he finished second at the weekend, was beaten by Northern Alaska. Again, in a time of about 2:2. But as I've mentioned earlier on, I don't know how much attention you can pay to the time. But he led and was caught in the straight. And the time he won here, when he went 58, he hung on in the straight. And I think he could be susceptible to a late attack from Northern Pride. I'm really interested to see how the race pans out, but I'm going to go with Northern Pride. I'm going to go with Northern Pride because I went with him at Portmarnock, and you know, I come away thinking, oh, obviously Dollar was a worthy winner and is a really top class horse for great connections, really, really great people. But I thought that It takes a special horse to be a 1.5 mile track record holder, to be a 1.5 mile 3-year-old track record holder at Tir Prince. Cam's Best had it for years. Meticulous came and broke it after 14 years. And then little old Northern Pride comes up and pops it straight after the year after. So something about that tells me that he's something special. So that's really the main. Nothing against Lady for Dollar, but that's the reason why I sided with him here. So what do you think, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm firmly in Team Nigel. You know, that's well known. I was ribbed last week at York for my comments about wee Nigel on the Friday night after he was beaten, but he ran very, very well last Saturday in defeat. You know, he did absolutely nothing wrong. It was a very, very good long opener for him before coming to Tir Prince now on Tuesday. You know, and he was a good second. He wasn't a horse that finished second and was just hanging on to the second. You know, it just happened that he was beaten by a better horse in Merrington Moving Up on that day. And that Merrington Moving Up is a potential free-for-all class, as potentially, you know,
of course he is, yeah.
But for me, you know, I'm always going to stick with Northern Pride. You know, heart over head, and on this occasion, you know, head as well. Lady for Dollar, I saw the 2 races of Lady for Dollar in Ireland. So, you know, like you mentioned, he is fit coming into the race. Imperial DJ was also second last week at York. But the difference between him and Northern Pride was that his time was markedly slower. It was a slower race. But still, you know, comes into the race with that bit of race fitness behind him. Take Me to the Limit. The winner last week as well. These are horses that are going to come into it. There is going to be a bit of interest in the race. But, you know, with Stevie driving, drawn 2, Take Me to the Limit being a stronger finisher, Stevie is possibly going to get the lead, you know, relatively comfortably. It all depends on what the horses outside of him do in terms of Rock with DJ and Gordon with Northern Pride. I do think Lions Maverick is a horse that I actually quite liked last year. I do think
good horse.
I think Lions Maverick could be a horse to keep an eye on going through the handicap route, because I do think on this occasion he's outclassed by these horses. But he's a horse that I think has shown a great deal of potential, and racing in this kind of class of race so early in the season could really benefit him when he steps back into handicap races after events like this. You know, those are the kind of horses when they step back into those handicap races and they win comfortably, people say, well, where's that performance come from? His form guide doesn't suggest that he's capable of doing that. But what you need to take into consideration is those placings and those beatings that horses like that have taken have always been in top quality and top class stakes races.
Keep
an eye on horses like that stepping out of those kind of races. So, yeah, and Take Me to the Limit is the same in that regard. Take Me to the Limit will be another horse to keep an eye on, so back in handicap company.
Definitely.
So, yeah, but for me, I've got to stick with the right. So,
just expanding on I think the fractions will be crucial in this race. If Stevie Lees is allowed to get to the half in 1-1 on Lady for Dollar, then they're gonna find it virtually impossible to pass him, because I think that's what Stevie will try and do. He'll go 28 quarter and then he'll try and jam it on, get to the half as slow as he can, and then it makes it impossible on pure fractions for these horses to get past him coming home. So I really hope we do see a true run race. Yeah,
definitely. Hopefully it can, you know, I think if it depends, it all depends on what the competition choose to do. But, you know, it's the drivers will make split second decisions on the night, so we'll just have to wait and see. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, all being well, you haven't changed your mind yet. I should be there on the 14th of July with my camera. So.
That's fine. Yeah, you'll come to do the photographs.
That's committed to video now. When I post that on YouTube, the world will see it. And if you turn me away at the gate, I will put that on YouTube as well. No, thank you, Eric, for going through that. So that's a 2 o'clock start on Tuesday, the 14th of July, isn't it? Yes.
It is. Yeah, we will be streamed. Yeah, we'll be streaming it live. So everyone will be able to watch it. You'll see that the start times. It's a test meeting for the RAS Lab, so that we can stream the meetings via the online bookmakers the week after. So we've got to report stuff to the Press Association 90 minutes before the race, show that we can get the results in on time, so on and so forth. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. Okay,
well, good stuff. So that's 2 o'clock Tuesday. So we've got York tomorrow, 2 o'clock. That live stream will hopefully be on social media for York tomorrow. 2 o'clock onwards, qualifiers beforehand, and then Tuesday, the 14th of July, 2 p.m. start. We have got the North Wales Horse Owners Association races, 2, 3, and 4-year-old. 8 races, and I'm looking forward to it, Eric.
Brilliant. Well, I'll see you then.
Yeah. So
excellent. Thanks very much.
So it's an
I'll speak to you.
Give the viewers a wave now as we end the Sulky Show episode 2, which may be split into 2 parts because of the length of it.
Can we put music to this?
There will be music. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for joining me, Eric.
Okay. Thank you too. Thanks very much. Cheers.